My name is Nikol. I am 34 years old. I'm a wife and mother of 2 girls. My father was in the military for 27 years. He was an air traffic controller. I was actually born in Germany, and we moved to the States when I was about 4. When I was 5 years old, my father was at Desert Storm. While he was gone, my mother and a boyfriend of hers were doing things that were not okay to my brother and I. When he returned from war, he found this out, and he took us away from my mom. He was married almost immediately after that to someone who was religious. And we went to church for a few years. This mom was not the greatest mom either. She was physically abusive to my brother and I. My dad had had enough. He gave her the option of stop hurting my children or leave, and she chose to leave. When she left, she took everything. When I was younger, I had obviously behavioral issues because of the things that I had been through. I wouldn't say I caused a lot of problems, but there were definitely some things that were off. My dad took me to a psychologist, and I was diagnosed with a few mental issues, including dissociative disorder. And I feel like that was the beginning of my downfall. When I was 16, I was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. It's an intense loathing of yourself that obviously would cause me to do things that I wouldn't think about the consequences. I tried to stay out of trouble. I stayed in school. I had a full-time job at 16. Pretty much fresh out of high school, I realized that the world is very hard, and I wasn't ready for it. So there was a time, I was about 20 years old, where I was homeless in college, and there were times I slept outside. I slept at my school in a bathroom. I didn't know what I was going to do. I made $7 an hour at a retail store, and I could not survive. A college friend suggested for me to become a dancer. And at first I was very hesitant. I didn't think that I could do something like that. So I tried it out, and it was something that I liked to do. So I was a dancer for several years, but that wasn't one of those things that I grew up and said, I think I'm going to do this one day. But I did. And I have to live with that for the rest of my life. Several years later, after I started dancing, I met my husband. And he was a bouncer and I was a dancer. So he asked me if I would quit doing that for him. It was difficult to adjust to a normal life, trying to find a normal job, living in a normal home without chaos. Chaos was something that I kind of grew up with, so it was very second nature to me. All I could think about was regret, was shame. Because being in that industry while you're doing it, you're not thinking about what the aftermath is going to be. In January of this year, 2019, my depression had hit rock bottom. I sat on my kitchen floor, contemplating that I wanted to end my life. I was completely hopeless. I felt like everybody was better off without me. And then I felt a hand on my shoulder. And it was about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning and nobody was awake. My husband was sleeping, the children were sleeping. It was just me on the floor. And when I felt that on my shoulder, all of my sorrow, my despair, hopelessness was taken away. And I knew that when I felt that it was Jesus talking to me. He didn't want me to do it. He didn't want me to end my life. So I got on my knees. I turned over, I got on my knees, and I prayed. I prayed for God to save me from myself, from my past. He was giving me his mercy and giving me the strength to live. And I instantly felt like living again. The Lord was helping me. It was probably March, and I was just feeling better day by day. Every day I felt better. Sometimes I still struggle with thoughts because of having a mental illness that are kind of always on the back burner. But now they're on the back burner, not the front one. God heard my prayer, and God answered my prayer. And Jesus has been walking with me every day. Even though I came from one of the most horrible backgrounds that you can think of, I was still able to find Jesus. And I wanted to. I wanted Jesus' mercy. And I want to stay as close to Jesus as I can because of what he did for me. Knowing that one day I will be perfect and I will be able to be in heaven. Something I never thought that I would be able to do.